Good afternoon. Welcome back to Near Post Flick On Game Week 36 Premier League preview. What a week we've had as far as the European competitions go. I mean, Arsenal are out of the Champions League, so commiserations to Arsenal. But the mighty Spurs, the mighty Spurs, are through to the cup final of Europa League, as is Man United as well. So that should be an interesting encounter. We know both teams have had such a shit season, but they can rescue the season if either club win the Europa League. And who would have thought it? And also, congratulations to Chelsea as well. They're in the Conference League final as well. So we've got three English representatives or representations still in Europe. That's Tottenham, Man United, and Chelsea. But this week, we look at game week 36 Premier League preview. I mean, all the excitement's over, isn't it? We know that Liverpool are now Premier League champions, and deservedly so. You know, they've been the best team in the league. So I think the remaining games of the season will just be them doing their Guard of Honor tour, as it were. So, yes, heading into today's games, we've got Fulham versus Everton. I think Fulham should win that. They should win that comfortably. They've had a fairly decent season, Fulham, so they can be happy with the way, or the fans, I guess, could be happy with the way the team's performed this season. So I'll probably say a Fulham win, although they did fizzle out towards the end of the season. They had a great start, great average middle, but fizzling out at the moment. But I think they should be strong enough to get a win against Everton. I'll say Fulham win 2-1. 2-1 at home at Craven Cottage to Fulham. And then we head over to Ipswich Town versus Brentford. Ipswich, they gave it a go in the Premier League, but it wasn't meant to be. They will be playing Championship football next year for a fact. Yeah, they're done and dusted. But they can come back. The thing is, when you come into the Premier League, you've got to take your opportunities. You've got to take your chances. It's a very, very tough league. It's a very tough league. And if you're coming up from the Championship, you've got to hit the ground running. You can't start putting in performances when you're about to get relegated. You've got to just, set it off. And Ipswich have had some good results this season, but it just wasn't good enough. So they will have to spend next year or next season in the Championship. But I think they will be back because they are that good. But they've just got to learn, I guess, from this experience that they've had in the Premier League. So Ipswich Town versus Brentford. I think Brentford will win that quite comfortably. So I'll probably say 3-1 Brentford. 3-1 Brentford against Ipswich Town. Southampton, well, they've been awful. Let's be honest. They've been absolutely awful this season. They probably won't even come back to the Premier League next year. They'll probably come back in about 2 seasons, I reckon, Southampton. That's how bad they've been. And they take on Man City. Of course, Man City pushing for that top 5 finish. And as I've said, I predicted it already that they will qualify. And I think they've probably just found form at the right time. And it would be nice for Kevin De Bruyne to end his City career out on a high. Of course, they're in the FA Cup final against Crystal Palace. So that will be a tough game as well for Man City. But I think, Man City will run away with today's game. I'd probably say 4-0. 4-0 Man City against Southampton. And yes, they will qualify for the Champions League without a shadow of a doubt. But Pep has got a lot of rebuilding to do now that it's confirmed that, Kevin De Bruyne will believe in the club. So they've got a lot of building to do. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting because, a lot of people will say Man City's successes have been because of the wealth that they've had or the backing they've had behind them. So it's a bit of a weird transition they're in at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how Pep, responds to that, because time and time again, people have always said, Pep's always had the best teams. That's why he's always had the best successes, whether it be Barcelona or Bayern Munich or even Man City. That he's always had that backing behind him. He's always had the pick of the cherry, if you like. So it'll be interesting to see how they rebuild and regroup and go up against that Liverpool team. So we'll see. But today definitely winning against Southampton without a shadow of a doubt. That's a walk in the park 4-0 Man City against Southampton. And then we go on to Wolverhampton Wanderers against Brighton. That's an easy game. Brighton will definitely win that. I'm saying Brighton to win 2-1. Both teams have been fairly decent this season. Brighton, of course, were pushing for a Europa League position, but I don't think that's going to happen now. Yeah, fairly decent season, I'd say, by both their standards. But I should think Brighton winning that 2-1, 2-1 to Brighton. In the late afternoon kickoff, we have Bournemouth against Aston Villa. Aston Villa are still within a chance, man. Very slim, very, very slim chance of qualifying for the Champions League. I felt that they had a great season in the Champions League this year. I think of all the English sides that played PSG, I felt they gave the best account of themselves, and they were just unfortunate that they couldn't get it over the line. But it is what it is. That's football, and I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. I'd love to see Villa. I'd love to see Villa again in the Champions League, but some of the teams around them have just found form at the right time. So it's going to be pretty difficult for Villa to get into the top 5 places. I think it'll be very difficult, but if they do, we welcome them and we'd love to see them again in the Champions League. So, but late afternoon's game against Bournemouth, I'm saying Villa will win that. Maybe I'd say 1-0, 1-0 Villa, because it's a must-win game. If they lose that game, then they can forget about the Champions League altogether. They can forget about qualifying for the Champions League. It's a must-win game for them. Bournemouth aren't pushovers. Bournemouth will give a good account of themselves as well. They will definitely be coming at Villa, and we know they like to play an attacking style of football. So it's going to be a very, very tough game for Villa, but Villa should have enough in their arsenal to beat Bournemouth. Going on to tomorrow's game, to Sunday's games. Yeah, they're very tasty games tomorrow. But as I say, the only spice really is that top 4 finish. So we've got Newcastle taking on Chelsea. That's a very important game for both clubs. I will probably say Newcastle will win that, and I've got Newcastle qualify. I've got both of them actually qualifying for the Champions League. Yeah, both ending in the top 4. But it's a massive game for both clubs. It's a massive game for both clubs. But I think Newcastle, there'll be a lot of goals. So I say Newcastle win that 3-2. Chelsea were, especially Cole Palmer, he seems to be back as well. So it will be an interesting encounter, be an interesting game, but I think it'll be a very entertaining game. And I believe Newcastle should win that match 3-2. Of course, both teams would like to qualify for the Champions League, and I would say Newcastle win that 3-2. Man United, West Ham. Right, Man United, they're in the cup final. They're in the cup final, in the Europa League Cup final, as we've addressed. That'll be a challenging game against West Ham. Their league form has been awful. I don't know whether that's the worst they've ever performed, Man United, in a league. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, Man United against West Ham. West Ham, they're around about the same position as Man United. So I don't know. This will probably be a draw. I'll probably say 1-1. 1-1 draw, because Man United will be focused on that Europa League final against Tottenham. So I'll probably say 1-1 Man United, West Ham. Nottingham Forest will take on Leicester City. Nottingham Forest, again, similar to Aston Villa, they've got a slim chance, as long as other results go their way, they've got a slim chance of qualifying for the Champions League. And what a dream that would be. And to be fair, at one point, I thought they'd already done it because they were so close. They were third in the league for such a long time. So, well, for the most part of the season anyway. So I thought it was a foregone conclusion, but that just shows you about football, that anything can happen. You have to be consistent. And unfortunately for Nottingham Forest, they've kind of slacked a little bit towards the end of the season. So that's kind of affected them, hence why they're in the position that they're in. So they will need to win that game against Leicester City. So it's a must-win game for Nottingham Forest. So I'll say Nottingham Forest will win that game 2-0. Leicester City are done. We're not even going to mention them. They're done. Championship football for them next season. Going on to the mighty Spurs. Tottenham Hotspur take on Crystal Palace. Tottenham Hotspur, will this be their 20th defeat of the season? Knowing Spurs, I'd probably say so. I'll probably say so. I'll probably say, Crystal Palace will probably beat Tottenham. I can't even get my words out. But I think, yeah, Crystal Palace will probably beat Tottenham. They'll probably beat them maybe 2-1. I say Crystal Palace will beat Tottenham 2-1. Again, but I don't think Tottenham fans will care at this point. I don't think Tottenham fans will care at this point. Tottenham are in another cup final, so congratulations once more to the mighty Spurs, for achieving that success in midweek and for getting to the Europa Cup final. So I don't think Spurs fans will care at this point. It's been addressed however many times that their season has been awful, it's been shit, it's been rubbish, it's been under par for various reasons. However, they can salvage the season by winning the Europa League Cup, I guess. But I think tomorrow, Crystal Palace will win 2-1. So I'm saying 2-1 Crystal Palace. And then we have Liverpool Arsenal. Now, if things had gone the other way, this would have been a massive game. A massive game, probably a title defining game. But it hasn't, because Arsenal haven't been consistent enough to mount any type of challenge. And they've crashed out of all competitions. And yeah, so it's just them. The only thing they're going to be doing tomorrow afternoon is creating a guard of honor for Liverpool for the Liverpool team to walk through. So this would have been a lovely game, a brilliant game, but unfortunately, Liverpool are already champions, and Arsenal season is in tatters. It's done. It's over. But nevertheless, it's still watchable. It is still Liverpool. It is still Arsenal. So it is a watchable game. I will probably say, the game being at Anfield, I'd say Liverpool will probably win this 3-1. So I'll say 3-1 to Liverpool tomorrow. Anyway, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.